500,000 subscribers. I want to thank you guys incredibly much for the support, the golden support. A lot more to come, but for now you can use code 500K on vintagegenetics.com for 20% off every single clothing item. Thank you again for the incredible support. So yes guys, thank you very much for the support, and don't forget to use code 500K on vintagegenetics.com for 20% off all of your clothing items. But anyway, this is a chest workout, and as you can see, this is in a different gym. It is called Top Fit Drunen in the city of Drunen in the Netherlands, and we were, the owner was kind enough to let us train here to experience some different machines, environment, etc. It's always nice to train in a different gym from every now and then. But anyway, the start of this chest workout is a chest press. So the chest press that I am used to feels a whole lot lighter than this one. Now, this is my first working set, and this is 50 kilos on each side. And just imagine I'm able to do almost the same amount of reps in my gym on my chest press with 150 kilos on each side. So there's a big difference in the way the chest presses work across the gyms, how the leverages work. So the amount of weight you put on the chest press, or basically any machine, it doesn't really matter. You can't compare them to someone else saying, oh, I can do 200 kilo chest press, and the other person says, oh, I can only do 100 kilos. If you're talking about different chest presses, trust me, you can't compare. The same goes for a leg press, even a hack squat where the angle matters, or any other back movement like a lat pull down or a free weight row. A free weight plate row, that's what I mean. But anyway, all of those machines, they feel different, they have different leverages, and the weight you put on, it doesn't really matter in the end, because what I always say, it's not about the weight, it's about what you let your muscles experience. And your muscles, in this case your chest, must feel the carnage, the explosions happening inside, and the weight that is, needed to cause that doesn't really matter as long as it is heavy enough to cause that. So what I like to do usually is I like to do 3 working sets on most movements, and a working set means a set to failure. Usually the first working set and the second one are the heaviest, and the third one is lighter. But this workout I did it a bit different because I needed to gauge my weight, my performance on each of these movements, as I've never done them on these machines particularly before. So what I do then is turn things around and do the lighter working set first, and then the heavier working sets second and third, because only after having gone to failure once I know what I'm truly capable of. So the first working set was 50 kilos on each side, and the second and third are 60 kilos on each side, which gives me 2 different rep ranges. The first working set was a rep range of in between 15 and 20, and the second 2 working sets are in between 8 and 12, and I always like to hit 2 different rep ranges on most movements to be able to hit the muscle in the most complete way. If you always hit the muscles in the same rep range, you might leave some progress, some hypertrophy left in the tank. And as a bodybuilder who wants to maximize muscle growth, that is not what we want. What we do want is hit the muscles from as many different angles as we can, but also, if you go one step further, different rep ranges. So in literature, rep ranges ranging from 5 all the way to 30 reps to failure all cause pretty much the same amount of muscle growth, but in a practical sense, the 8 to 12 rep range, in my opinion, is the most practical, most easy, and most doable rep range to replicate and get stronger on every single workout, with the exception of the rep range 15 to 20, adding a bit more of a pump, more volume to the muscle and adding more metabolites, more metabolic damage like lactic acid and buildup of more toxins, which is a secondary way you can make the muscles grow. So the primary way is mechanical tension, which you want to increase as much as possible. So you might think, well, can a 1 rep max cause the most mechanical tension because that's the heaviest weight? Yes, but it's all about exposing the muscle multiple times to a heavy weight. So with 1 rep, the muscle hasn't been exposed long enough to cause muscle growth, because then your body, mostly your brain, might think, well, this only happened once, I don't need to expend energy to make muscles grow, it might not ever happen again. But if you do 8 to 12 reps, then it was something you've been doing for quite a while, especially repeating from week to week. Then your brain is telling your muscles, well, we gotta grow, we gotta build some more muscle mass in order to be prepared for next time this might happen, because we were exposed to quite a lot of pressure over a prolonged period of time, and we need to become stronger now and bigger. And that's what we're after, of course. So that basically is a very simplified way of thinking about why those rep ranges exist. Now, as I said, you can go all the way to 30 reps, but that is impractical because, as I always also said, you build up lactic acid, and that comes paired with a feeling of acidity in the muscle. You might actually hit 25 reps and then think you're hitting failure because the pain is too great. But if you really tried, you could actually get 3 to 4 more reps out if you would be able to completely ignore the lactic acid, but a lot of people can't. And if you want to keep training fun as well, then I would recommend sticking to a slightly lower rep range like the 8 to 12 and the 15 to 20, at least having 2 rep ranges where you can really progress on, write down the lift, write down the amount of reps, write down the weight, and try to improve the next time. So this workout, we started with a flat chest press, then an incline chest press for the upper chest, and now we're doing the Pec Deck to fill the chest up with even more blood. And the difference between a Pec Deck fly and the previous 2 movements is this one is an isolation movement, which means it isolates the muscle you're working without involving other muscles. So here the delts and the triceps are not involved in lifting and pushing this weight, only the chest. So that's why I recommend always doing at least 1 isolation movement for each muscle, no matter what muscle group you're training, to be able to absolutely go to failure with that muscle and to know you left nothing in the tank regarding the specific muscle you're working. So here we are going to failure 3 times, and that means we are isolating the chest, going to failure 3 times without the triceps or the shoulders being the weakest link. In this exercise, the chest is the weakest link, and that is what you want to go to failure with. And by the way, the person you're seeing right here is the owner of this gym, and he's actually pretty strong, even stronger than he looks, because if you look back at the first exercise, he was pretty much, easily able to match the amount of reps that I did on the chest press. Granted, I do like to make every single movement as difficult as possible, meaning I try to involve the muscle as much as I can, and without any other muscles helping me unnecessarily. So I always try to make things very difficult. As you can see here, I have my shoulder blades retracted, which means the front delts aren't able to work. I make sure to keep my arms in a stiff position, only letting the chest do the work. And, it takes years to be able to feel exactly how to make the muscle suffer the most and not be persuaded to let other muscle groups help. For some people, they make other muscle groups help as well, causing them to do a lot more weight, but at the same time, they distribute that weight through multiple muscle groups. And that's what of course, as a beginner, that's fine because you're still learning, but as an advanced bodybuilder, you want to minimize involving unnecessary muscle groups in the movement. Now, I'm not saying the owner of this gym has been doing that, but if you see or rather don't see a big discrepancy in strength between two people where you do expect it to be, then you might also have to consider that the more advanced person is performing the exercise a bit differently, even though it looks like they're performing the exercise in the same way. Now, there are incredible exceptions, like people like James Hollingshead, Ian Valliere, Antoine Vaillant. They are all very strong bodybuilders who also have the body to back that strength up. But anyway, guys, we just did the Pec Deck. Normally, and most people do that movement at the very end of a workout. However, we're now doing the bench press at the very end of the chest workout. So why is that? Now, I made a video a couple of weeks ago explaining exactly why you guys should at least try for once to do the bench press at the last movement in the chest workout compared to the first movement. Yes, we're much stronger at the beginning of the workout, but that strength comes with risk, especially on the bench press, where if you push a lot of weight on this bar and you're not properly warmed up, you might get injured, you might feel the shoulders being impinged or the elbows being injured or irritated. Do we want that? No. If you know you're a person who can lift heavy weight on the bench press, but you feel something in your shoulder or the triceps, or you get a poor mind-muscle connection with the chest, trust me, try doing this movement at the end of the workout and you will cross off multiple things that are very beneficial as a bodybuilder. The first one is you don't have to do as much weight in order to hit failure, so less risk there, less risk of injury, of tearing something, of injuring something. But more importantly, you can actually feel the chest a lot better. We as bodybuilders, we know exactly how important it is to feel the muscle that we're training. It's called mind-muscle connection. So because of all the movements we already did, the chest is warmed up properly, filled with blood, and the more pumped up the muscle is, the better you're able to connect with it when, for example, doing a compound like the bench press. So especially after having done an isolation movement like the Pec Deck, the chest is filled up, and then you stretch it out again with the bench press, and you can literally consciously feel those chest muscles work. And that is something a lot of people cannot feel when doing the bench press at the first exercise. So if you want to see the full video of this, check it out on my channel. But for now, we finished the chest movements and we're moving on to the side dumbbell lateral raise. We're doing 2 working sets here, only showing you one of them, but both are the same as I'm doing right here. So we're going to failure with both arms at the same time, around 20 reps, so high volume, and then doing unilateral side lateral raises to go past failure even more, because that is a safe, very safe way to get a lot more blood in a small muscle group like the side delts, and the more blood you can get in there, the better it is for growth. Because remember what I said at the beginning, there's 2 ways to make a muscle grow: mechanical tension and metabolites that are building up in the muscle. What you want to do with the side delts and the rear delts, by the way, is also focus a whole lot on that big pump, on the metabolites, on a lot of volume. Because if you go for the mechanical tension route, you would have to do a lot of weight, and inevitably your traps and other muscle groups will aid you and shift the tension away from the muscle you're trying to work. So go for high volume on the side delts. And we just did the rope pushdown, which feels very good as a warm-up for the triceps. Did 3 working sets there, all of them around 10 to 15 reps to make sure there's a lot of blood in there to get a nice pump in the triceps. And then it is time for the French press. Now, the French press is different from a skull crusher, and you can already see it quite clearly here. A skull crusher is when the bar goes to your skull, hence the name skull crusher. The French press, no idea why it's called French, but the big difference is that it goes behind the head and you cause a greater stretch in the triceps. It is all about causing that stretch, because you can see that the tricep head itself is stretching, but also the shoulder joint where the tricep, the long head especially, is attached to, and so you have a double whammy effect where you stretch the tricep themselves, but also the tendon on the bone, so the long head connected to the shoulder joint, which causes even more growth, because then you have a double stretch. So if you do a regular skull crusher, then you would only get the stretch more locally within the tricep, but you can get a much deeper stretch, which stretches out more towards the shoulder joint if you actually perform it like a French press, going below and behind the head. So try out that different style, and it also hurts the elbows a whole lot less. So I used to do a lot of skull crushers in the past, and they simply put, they shift the tension more towards the bone, towards the joints compared to the muscle, which is why a lot of people, yes, they do get good stimulation in the triceps, but also a lot of tension in the elbows, which after years of continuing doing this, it might actually, stab you in the back. Because you might think, well, my triceps are grown now, but I can't continue making them grow because the joints hurt so much. And luckily, I don't have that problem, because using full range of motion and not locking out the elbows when it's not necessary, as you can see right here, prevents a whole lot of pain and injury. And that is the enemy, the nightmare of a bodybuilder, because you want to do a lot of reps, a lot of volume, a lot of weight if you can, and with pain that becomes a lot more difficult. It causes more stress, more water retention. That is not what we want. So the first working set I did here was a lot more reps, because again, even though it's the same movement as I usually do, it's been a while since I've done a French press. And if you've done different exercises before doing the French press, it depends it changes the strength you have. And for arms, you might also want to do a bit more reps anyway. So doing around 20 reps for the first set doesn't hurt at all. In fact, it actually makes for a better mind-muscle connection, makes for a better pump in the arms, which then makes the next two sets even more efficient, because you feel the muscle better. So right here we are doing some poses. There was a posing room, well, mostly a group lesson room upstairs, but the lighting is pretty great, so just hitting some poses here. And by the way, I'm about 9 to 9.5, well, mostly 9.5 weeks out in this video. And as of right now, as I'm speaking to you, I'm about 6.5 weeks. And I have to say the differences are quite severe already, which makes me very excited. But here I'm just hitting some of the, normal, standard, but also some classic poses to show you guys that I'm still practicing posing, of course, and I want to make my posing routine quite nice as well. So what we just hit is a front double bicep and the back double bicep. Here, of course, is the side chest mantis pose, which, by the way, is available on vintagegenetics.com as a bodybuilding figurine. This is the old school Arnold pose. And here we're about to hit the back double 3/4 pose, which looks weird from this position, but from the mirror position it looks quite classic. So, and then of course it is time for my favorite classic pose, which is this one. It's very difficult to hit because you need to actually be quite flexible to stand in this angle while standing in the front of a bicep using a 3/4 pose like that, but you have to make it look very easy. Here are some quick transitions we have done over the years, and of course I want to add a lot more in my routine later this year and also at the Olympia. So the gym owner, he actually has done contests in the past, and due to Corona, he wasn't able to work out quite a lot or keep to his diet 100%, but he still maintained quite a good physique, especially knowing that he's older than me, of course, and hasn't been bodybuilding as long as me. And he wanted to, we actually invited him to pose alongside with me because it was kind of a surprise of me showing up there, and we wanted to really make it worth his while. And he actually did some posing lessons with me in 2018 before his own contest and before I actually had my own pro card, so it was nice to repeat this. Anyway guys, I'm gonna finish off these poses for you, and I really want to thank you a whole lot for watching. I'm very excited, a lot more footage is coming. We're getting closer and closer to the show, and I'm very excited to show you a lot more. And probably the next video will be a Q&A, so if you still have any more questions, make sure to ask them down below, and I might even make 2 Q&A videos for you guys. Anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out vintagegenetics.com, and don't forget to stay golden. Waar is het?